Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. You can see there's nothing here on the bench. It's because it's sitting outside. Let's get back to work on fixing the door in a Taylorcraft. All right, let me get everyone outside and I'll get you up to speed on exactly where we are at. All right, don't pay any attention to that there little biplane fuselage. It's coming up soon. All right, the door of course is already set, ready for paint. I just haven't done any painting yet on it until I get the latch put on. And I've got all that stuff inside and I'll bring you back in and show you how we're gonna put that on. The way that I was able to get my little point right here where we're going to be drilling through here for the 1/8 inch rod is you can see the little sharp piece of 1/8 inch steel. What I did is, let me see if I can get this thing out. When it was all inside, I just pushed this thing out with the screwdriver just to make the little dent in the wood. Let me see if I can get this out. This is all that this thing is. It's just a little teeny piece of 1/8 inch rod ground out to a point just so that it could fit inside there, and this goes onto the inside of the fuselage. That's how I originally set up the marker on how this thing was gonna get plugged out, is that this hole here and that hole over there go all the way through to the back side of this former. So I've got this already ready to come back off and get that drilled through. All right, now back inside. Here's the piece that's going to go ahead and get attached to the door itself. This is just a little teeny housing that everything's going to ride inside. Here is the rod. It's 1/8 inch rod, cross drilled, as you can see. I added heat to it because it is piano wire. So I added heat to it just to soften it, just kind of anneal the metal, soften it up a little bit. Went through the number 48 wire size drill bit. And this is the little crossbar that's going to go in here, and I probably won't be able to do it unless I'm using two hands or get really lucky. There we go. So this will get slid through to the right angle it's going to have to be at, and then I'll solder this into position, or I can use epoxy. Either way, it doesn't matter. I could probably even use super glue, and we'll get that in position. And what's going to go from here on this end out to the back side of this, because this is going to sit in here like this, and then I'll have to put a slot through on this side too for this little crossbar to go through. And I can't do that until I get the hole drilled through the edge of the door to go in and make sure everything's going to work out nicely. And then we'll start drilling. And then on this side, the end stop on it, or the end cap on it, I've got to do another hole drilled through here. And then there'll just be a regular spring out of a click, ballpoint pen. And that's what's going to give us the actual tension on this. All right, so I went ahead, I've got everything properly drilled up to the size where the little latch, the rod itself, will slide through nicely and everything's properly aligned. Now what I've got to do is I've got to go ahead and glue this little piece on. So I'll just kind of leave you guys, leave the camera rolling while I get this glued into place and get this drilled through, the hole drilled through out here on the back side of this, so that way we can put the rod through and get ready to start finishing the latch. All right, it is all glued. And hopefully there's not too much noise in the background. I got neighbors decided to cut grass on a holiday, national holiday. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and do the best we can to get this hole drilled in back here where I want it. It's going through good. I don't know if I got enough drill bit to get that through. We're gonna find out. Oh yeah, not a problem. All right, let's get that little pin out. And let's slide this one through and see how well she wants to work. A little tight on the back side, but we can get that taken care of. And as the pin slides back through, that door is on there solid. So I'm happy with that. We're good. So let me go ahead and take this apart. I've got to solder this little crossbar in, but I'll do that when I get the spring on and get everything ready to go. Because I've got to go ahead here. I've got to cross drill and then come in with a cutoff wheel or whatever and just cut a slot out here. So that way this little teeny rod right here can slide through, and that's how I open and close the doors on the outside. So I'll bring it right back. All right, it's in, it's ready to go. It's not sliding out all the way by itself every time, but that will wear itself in because right now as I do this, it's getting easier. But go ahead, close it, pin it, and that thing is rock solid. So I'm happy with that. So let me go ahead, get this thing all primed, ready to go, and then I'll go ahead, find the plastic. We'll get a piece cut out, and we'll go ahead, get that screwed on, and then we'll get it painted. All right, it's been a fun day on two parts, because the door is painted, ready for the covering, and that beast has been fired up, which you just saw in last week's video. Smoke's working good. Hopefully we'll have her out either the weekend you see this video with Taylorcraft or the week after. So the door is painted. This stuff takes probably a good, let me get you out in the sun just so you can see the wonderful, beautiful orange. This stuff takes about probably 3 or 4 days for it to dry completely. So right now I'm just going to keep hanging that thing inside. I've got to bring the plastic down from upstairs, and then at that point it's just a matter of cutting out a piece, getting it all taped up, and start spraying that with paint. So that one will be that paint job. I'll paint the orange stripes on one day, and about 3 days later I'll come back and I'll shoot the black. So this one's not going to be ready to go up in a couple weeks anyway. So like I said, my goal was to try to get her ready to rock, and she's ready to go. Before we begin, the back side of this stuff, because it's covered with plastic both sides, this side stays on, the back side stays on. That way it's already masked, don't have to worry about overspray on the back side. So, and then what we'll do is when it comes time to paint the outside of this, we're going to have it all cut out. We'll have everything, all the screws, holes already drilled out, set into place. So we're taking this piece off, and then we're just going to go ahead and start spraying it. So it'll all be masked out properly in accordance on the lines on the door. First thing I have to do is come on in and mark where the hinges are, because this part needs to be cut out. So we'll get the top and we'll get the bottom, and then we just have to make a kind of just a guesstimate on how far it needs to come in. We're going to say right about there, so about 1/4 inch and about 1/4 inch. So I'll go ahead and get these things slotted out, and then we'll go ahead and slide it in and make sure everything's going to work, because this side of the door here, the forward part of the door, the hinge side of the door, it's going to be flush with the side of the hinge, where everywhere else around the outside is going to be 3/16 of an inch overhang. So I'm going to go ahead and take this over to the bandsaw and start nibbling away at it. And the final fit, and we are very good. Because what I get to do is, even though this is sitting here proud, I'll make sure that everything is screwed in the way I want it to. Part of this up on the top is going to have to be sanded off. So, but I still want to go ahead and start drilling the holes around the outside of this. So this will all be done off camera. I've got all the holes drilled and screws already in place on, let's just call it the hinge side of the door, because if I start down here, the way that the door warps, it actually follows the fuselage as it bends going. So as the fuselage sweeps around, this has to follow it. So what I'm doing is I'm going on, let's just say that I'm going on one edge all the way up to the top, and then I'm going to come straight down the middle, and then I'll fan out from there. Because it's going to be the end point here is more critical than this angle down here at the bottom, because this is going to be sitting pretty flush, whereas if you decided to come in and compress this corner, it might want to lift. Now the way that when I'm running my hands down here, it's sitting flat on top of it already, so I'm not really concerned about that. I'll go ahead, get all the screws put in, I'll bring it back. Alright, as per usual, I went ahead and made myself a little teeny measuring implement. It's 3/16 of an inch across. Went ahead on the belt sander, went ahead and then smoothed one end out. Ran this through the bandsaw, and you know it's good enough. I've already traced around the bottom and the rear side of it, the hinge side, not the hinge side, but the latch side of it. That's already done. So I'm going to go ahead and trace across the top of the door. And with this, I will be cutting with a pair of scissors up to the line, not including the line, because I want to have that little extra bit that I can go ahead and sand just to make sure that those lines are straight. So I'll bring it back as soon as this is done. Figured I'd bring you outside just to show you what it looks like sitting on the plane. All right, when it's latched, I don't have the latch on now, but when I press this up against the side where it latches, we actually have really good fitment on this side with the window, up across the top, down around the forward edge of the door, all the way from here on up to here. And as soon as you get to this transition right here, it just gets a little too tight. So I'll just go in and just straighten up this part right about from this screw all the way up to the top, just sand it back with a very slight bevel on it. And this one will be ready to pull the covering off the front. We'll get everything all taped up and get it sprayed painted orange. Didn't want you guys to feel left out. I already went ahead and got everything taped around the outside and pretty much ready. It's not ready to paint. Now it's ready to trim the tape. And at this point, I'm just going to be coming inside and with just another little, just a regular simple razor blade. I'm going to come in here and very gently continue this cut all the way out, so we're retaining that straight corner. And then once this is done, I'll go ahead, and if my fingers decide they want to work with me today, I'll get this little piece of tape pulled off, and so we've got a nice square edge there. And what I'll do is I'll come back with a little bit of tape just to get the mastic that's stuck on it, because I used that yellow tape's a little more aggressive than I really wanted it to be on this, but I should be able to go ahead and get any little residue pulled off before we spray paint it. So, and that's how we're going to do it. I'll do it all the way around. I'll get this side cut out here, the center line, all the way down around the bottom. I'll show you guys what it looks like before I spray it. All the lines have been properly cut, so now we've got really smooth transition. So this is where it's going to be painted orange all the way around the outside here through the cross member there, up around the top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my little Norton pads. These things are like triple out steel wool. Very nice to have when you're prepping any kind of plastic for paint, because it gives it a really fine tooth for the paint to stick to, but it doesn't gouge into it. So it works out very nicely. Now, if you happen to hear a little bit of external noise through this microphone that I've got on me, I lost a dead cat. What a dead cat is on one of my other little remote mics. There we go. This is for the Canon camera. This little thing here is called a dead cat. And any bit of noise that you hear in the background, any kind of breeze, if this happens to rub up against something or my shirt rubs up against the mic, you don't hear it. I lost it on the one that I'm using right now. So what I plan on doing is buying a bunch more of these little things, keeping them in my my camera gear bag, so just in case this happens again, I'm covered. All right, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to run next door because I'm not going to spray in this room. And once again, I'm using my little Krylon Dual. Not the best paint in the world, but that's what colored the orange beast. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll spray on one quick coat, let it sit for probably about 5 minutes, spray on another quick little coat, and this is done. So as soon as this thing is ready for me to start peeling, and hopefully about 20 minutes or so, I'll start peeling the tape off. I'll bring you all back and show you what it looks like with all the orange painted. It's sprayed. Not 100% happy with it, but then I never am. Because if you try to shoot for perfection, you're going to find out real quick you become much more critical of yourself and you're never going to reach it. So from this distance, it probably looks really nice to you guys. If I get closer, you can see the way it had a weird little bleed. Hopefully you can see it. Had a weird little bleed with the, there it goes, with the masking tape. You can see on top of the jagged edge, it's got a strange little, almost like a wave to it. Never seen that before. And I have painted on top of this before. Granted, yes, I'm using that same paint that I hate so much, but it's the color of the plane. There's not too much in the way that I can do to clean this up. I'll try to dress it the best I can a little bit just as it hardens up, but it is the way it is. It's not going to affect the way the plane flies. It's like I said, from a few feet away, you can't tell, but when you look up close, and that's because I'm looking up close. I did try a different type of masking tape, the thinner tape, and I think that's where the whole problem came from. What I normally use, unfortunately, I'm almost completely out, was this old fine line tape. Works very good for, it's set up for spraying cars. And it leaves a really clean line. The unfortunate thing is I don't have any more of that stuff. So I was just trying to go with some good tape. And what I used was a, if I can find it, yeah, it's a little masking tape. And I've used it before, but I've never used this as the, let's just call it like for painting like a cut line, where you want that straight line. I've never used it for that. Lessons learned, guys, lessons learned. So anyway, so this is ready to just give it about a day or two of drying. So I'll come back down tomorrow and check this out just to see how cleanable it is. If I can get some of the little teeny overruns. There's one right here where it came down a little bit, one that came over here a little bit. You know, I think I'll be fine with the way it's going to sit. So let me go ahead and as soon as this thing's ready for the black stripe, we're going to put the black stripe on it and we're going to call this door done. It's been another long day, and just to show you, we're all done. As you can see with these last two pictures, this first one here is just me with the tape. It took me probably about 5 minutes to retape this up so I can shoot this little black line. And then with one spray across with the black paint, waited another 10 minutes, peeled off all the masking tape, and it was done. So, and this is kind of what she's looking like with it on the side of the plane. Because years ago, in between jobs, I used to paint. It's something I enjoy doing. So the frog tape is a relatively newer product. I've been using it here down the shop for probably, I don't know, 8 years, 9 years. And I found out, I did a test and it works great with spray paint. And it can be easily purchased at just about any hardware store or paint shop. And I did not use that. So what I did was, to finish up the black stripe on it, I did go get some more. So I won't make that mistake again. Now, real quick, getting to the tires. I went and picked those up. I don't know if you can see it. It's from Dubro. These tires say Dubro on the tires. The original ones on the plane, let me show you. And hopefully you can see this. On the plane, they actually said Firestone Aircraft. Same size tire, everything else is pretty much identical. My thing is, did Dubro really make this, even though it looks almost identical, the same amount of little, whatever you want to call them, the little on the rims. Slightly different, but I think it used to be a Dubro tire. I can confirm with Dubro, because now that this, even though it's the same exact size, it's substantially thinner. Hopefully the camera does this justice. So I'm going to go get another one, just because I don't want more drag on this wheel as it is on the flat one over there. I wish I can re-vulcanize these, because I would love to go ahead and fix that other tire and stay with the bigger ones. So I'm going to hang on to this tire anyway, just if nothing else, just because it's got history in this plane. What I'm going to have to do is drill these out to 1/4-20. So I'll pick up another one of these things tomorrow, run over to Dubro and get another one, get them both drilled out, get them on the plane, and the plane will be ready to fly. All right, before we end this video, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of Bud's World of Wisdom. If you're not 100% happy with your paint job and you're becoming very overcritical on the way the plane looks because you're not happy, take about 3 steps back, and now that plane looks awesome. So always take that into account. You can always get better, and sometimes you just seem to get worse. So next time you guys see me, I will have everything loaded in the van. We'll be heading up with the biplane, blow a little smoke in the sky, and then the following weekend, we'll have her up there doing the same exact thing.